Ooh, we can do this!
Hey, before you guys get the pitchforks and waifu pillows ready, I need you to hear me out on this one, alright? Do you remember Dynasty Warriors 9? Now, other than the buggy and broken gameplay, there was something about that game that really separated it from Western games. And I'm sure you can easily guess what I could be hinting at.
World design.
Yeah, exactly. Western audiences have been spoiled by large, expansive worlds filled with environmental objects, whether they be mere clutter or tell a story like a certain game we won't talk about.
Hey, no, go away.
You could make the argument that Japan just hasn't really had a market for large and open world games. They've only built games that were concise and to the point. And I think you were reading my script. How the hell did you get this file? Plus, games in 2010 would have to have had a huge audience beforehand, begging for the devs to port the game over to Western audiences. Even with larger games like Pokemon and Persona, which Atlus still does the porting thing, by the way. So to be honest, me being American, I wasn't even within the Japanese game publisher's viewpoint. Most games were made and published in Japan for Japan, and unless they were published by the big three, which were Capcom, Square Enix, and Nintendo, you wouldn't see them in America for months. But soon after, Japan realized that they have a thriving market in the Western Hemisphere. But guess who reared his ugly, tiny, lying head?
These NPCs are not scripted.
Skyrim released 11/11/11 worldwide to an outrageous reception, and it changed the game almost literally. Even though if you were to play the game today, it would be overshadowed by releases made recently. It brought with it something most Japanese games haven't really done before prior to this: the open-ended, open-world RPG.
A game where you can do anything, be anything within that game's rule set. And honestly, I think it's pretty fucking tight.
And with it, genuine world design, which is the topic of this video. Now, most games developed in Japan, and I mean this in no offensive way, handled world design in the worst way possible. Like, how can you just have these beautifully animated creatures and characters, and you still use Wolfenstein 3D square hallways, with absolutely zero clutter to help differentiate certain areas from the other? Now, back to Dynasty Warriors, which, shame to say, is the best example of this. And yes, there are others, and I'll get to those, don't worry. We hate all things equally here. But looking at these just downright beautiful character models, it is immediately juxtaposed by the muddy and bland world design and shoddy environmental decoration in general, which if you look at a Western game released at around the same time, it is night and day. Especially where you can see Western developers hold their priorities. In my opinion, it's like Japanese devs spend more of their production period working on perfecting their characters and their background, but save building the world for the last bit of production. While I feel Western devs either spend equal time on both, or none really, because they can afford more workers? I don't know. But there's no denying that there's a massive difference in game design ethics between the hemispheres. Another example of a beautiful game made by the esteemed Kojima, Death Stranding. I really had to fight with myself on whether or not I was actually wanted to include this in a video, but it's the perfect example of spending too much time on perfecting a singular character in a world. Of course, I haven't played the game yet, so I can't really say much. But the fact that the world is incredibly realistic looking, and I know it's supposed to be some sort of apocalyptic setting, but oh my god, is that game empty. Now don't hate me for this, but I genuinely can't see myself seeing appeal in walking across such a blank slate of a world. I'm sorry, but I hope there's more to it than left foot, right foot simulator. To wrap things up in a nice little bun, there was one game series that bothers me in such a way because it is possibly the most Western influenced game made in Japan when it comes to world design, and that's
Super Mario Brothers 2 again, baby! Super Mario Brothers 2! Oh, it's still the king! Still the king after all these years!
Nah, I'm kidding. But it's Pokemon Sword and Shield. Yup, I'm one of those idiots on the internet. We've all seen the gameplay footage. We've all seen the game Little Town Hero. Also, shout out to Toby Fox having the best year in history. Now, back to the topic at hand though. There's a very extensive post on Reddit as to why Sword and Shield is the way it is, and none of the blame really goes to Game Freak. Let's be honest here. They've been under contract to work on these Pokemon games for almost 25 years. They, just like the consumer, is experiencing severe fatigue. It's why they split their team for a year or so to work on Little Town Hero. And even that game, although it showed love, had glaring quality issues. Now I hear you saying, well, they have no experience making 3D console games. And to that I give you,
oh my.
To be honest with you, I went to school to be a designer. I know I say that a lot in my videos, but I know as an artist myself, every game design student or even professional has had experience working with 3D, trust me. Now, if they weren't good with content like that, and I'm sorry and I hate to say it, but maybe they shouldn't have been working on it at all. And I've communicated with people with good head on their shoulders who would have preferred a sprite-based game instead. It's genuinely what Game Freak is good at. I'm not going to spoil any of the new Pokemon designs, and I'm not some Gen 1er guzzling my own coom. There are a lot of designs I really enjoy, but I feel like they suffer greatly with the extra dimension. But you know what? I'm going to support Game Freak because I have a sinking feeling that if this game doesn't sell well in the West, we could be saying goodbye to Game Freak, and I suggest you do the same.